If there's one important thing that is vital for a Christian's walk with God, that is prayer. And it's something that we often mislook. But I want to provide this passage for you to show you the importance of prayer. And as convicting this was for me today, I pray that this will be convicting for you so that all of us as Christians will have a deeper desire to pray, especially as I saw this man in the Bible had that deep desire to, and that is Daniel. And it goes, and today we're going over the book of Daniel, chapter 6, verses 10 through 11. Now we know who Daniel is, and even if you are a non-Christian, you probably have some idea who Daniel is. Daniel is someone who was taken into captivity by the Babylonian Empire because throughout the Bible you continue to have Israel's disobedience to God and rebellion over and over. And at that point, God had enough. And so he sent the Babylonians to Judah to judge Judah. And eventually they were taken into exile for a certain amount of time. But God still promised that he would work good for them despite this. And so as Daniel is in this exile period, he is actually one of the only person to really be successful in the Babylonian Empire. I think it's so crazy that you have this boy, not too old, like he's probably around my age, like a teen, and he is being transferred into this new environment, this new empire, but God was with them throughout all of it, and he was able to see so many dreams and prophecies throughout his lifetime. He stood up against kings, and because he put God over the kings of Babylon, God exalted him up. And so as we go into this chapter, in chapter 6, we see that Daniel is now with King Darius of Persia because right now Babylon is taken over. Because Babylon started to exalt themselves, so God sends Persia to judge Babylon. And now Babylonian Empire is taken by Persia under King Cyrus, and then it goes to King Darius. Now, Darius is a good friend of Daniel. Daniel is already successful at this time, and you have a lot of Darius's commissioners, or what they are called satraps, who are very jealous of Daniel because of his high status. And so they try to put a decree to really trap Daniel. And what they say in this decree is that if anyone doesn't bow down to the king, if they bow down to any other god other than the king, then they're going to be thrown in the lion's den for 30 days. And that's exactly what they do to Daniel because they know Daniel's not going to abandon Yahweh. And we see in verse 10, this is what happens. Verse 10 reading, "Now when Daniel knew that the written document, the document that said that you must bow down to the king, was signed, he entered his house. Now in his roof chamber he had windows open towards Jerusalem, and he continued kneeling on his knees 3 times a day, praying and giving thanks before his God, as he had been doing previously." Verse 11, Then these men came by agreement and found Daniel seeking to make a petition and making supplication before his God. What do we see in this passage? We see that Daniel is a man of prayer. Immediately, even after he knew that this document is signed, it's like he wasn't even worried about it at all. And he just immediately came to his prayer room and prayed to God with the windows open and prayed 3 times a day. That's similar to what Solomon and King David did when they were kings, giving thanks before his God. Let me tell you something. How many times have you given thanks to God when you pray? Especially when we're under circumstances. I know that it sounds counterintuitive to give thanks to God when you are in sufferings or trials, but it's actually a good thing when you do that because you realize that God is in control over all the challenges that you go through in your life. When you give thanks to God in all your circumstances, you begin to realize that God is ultimately in control of your situation, especially for people like me who want everything to be in control. One of the biggest problems with Israel is that they did not give thanks to God, and that's what led to all of these neighboring nations to come and conquer Israel because they didn't give thanks to God. Now, when we read more, we continue to see that Daniel, even though these men found Daniel, he continues to pray and make supplication before God. There are verses in the Bible that talks about praying without ceasing. And when I think about that verse in 1 Thessalonians 5, I think about what Daniel did here. Despite him knowing that prayer was going to get him in trouble with the officials for Persia, he still prayed. That is insane, because if Daniel holds prayer as high of a regard as he is to get in trouble, what am I doing in my life? If he's praying 3 times a day when I only do 1 time a day, what does that say about my prayer life? And so to keep you accountable, I want to help you understand and ask yourself this question. Think about when you first became Christian and how many times you prayed then, and think about how many times you pray now. If the answer is less, then you need to pray more, because prayer has the power to do anything. Prayer for Daniel was his way of talking to God and aligning his will with God, even knowing that he would get in trouble by the satraps there. And so I hope this video blessed you and helped you realize the importance and power prayer has over a believer's life. On that note, take care and God bless.